Welcome to Soulful Living. I'm Dr. Jane Mountrose, your host, and I'm here today with my special guest, Carissa Daniel, who is she's special, a very special woman. She's also a spiritual coach, teacher, and healer. And today we're going to be announcing or talking about accepting yourself as the path to freedom. So I'm really excited about this topic and about hearing Carissa's insights on it. First, I want to say a few things about Soulful Living. Soulful Living provides practical and enlightening tools for creating more joyful, meaningful, and prosperous lives. With 3 decades of experience in the fields of holistic life coaching and healing, my husband Philip and I are published authors, trainers, coaches, and founding directors of IAHP, the International Association of Holistic Practitioners. IAHP is part of Awakenings Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to creating a more loving world where the unique gifts that each individual brings are honored and nurtured. Each Sunday, we discuss a single spiritually focused strategy for living more soulfully. As mentioned, today's strategy is accepting yourself as the path to freedom. We hope you can join us often to start your week off on a high note with some fresh ideas you can use to live more soulfully. So now I'm pleased to tell you a little bit about Carissa, who comes to us from Trinidad. So Carissa is a spiritual coach, teacher, and healer, as I mentioned, who guides spiritual and personal growth seekers to live blissful, soul-centered lives that profoundly impact the world. She is a trained holistic life coach and healer and also has a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. She is trained in various holistic practices and techniques, including emotional freedom techniques, neurolinguistic programming, inner child therapy, age regression therapy, energy healing, and hypnotherapy, to name a few. Good start. That being said, Carissa's work goes way beyond titles, focusing on her life's mission and passion, which she shares with the world. She is adamant about living what she teaches, and for the past 14 years, she has dedicated herself to her own spiritual and personal growth. Her personal experience, coupled with her formal training, has positioned her to help others gain clarity, heal past wounds, expand their consciousness, and deliberately create a life of bliss, flow, impact, and success. For the past 5 years, Carissa has helped seekers from all walks of life to awaken and embody their true selves and divine mission, which has empowered them to fully show up to a joyful, fulfilling, and purpose-driven life. Oh. And I think that what we're talking about today, accepting yourself as the path to freedom, is really central to what you're sharing here as your mission. So I'm very excited, and welcome, Carissa. I'm so delighted you're here. Another thing, Carissa is a graduate of Awakenings Institute and a wonderful friend. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for us to have a little conversation. Yes, and I'd like, if you can, to just start by sharing a little bit more about yourself and why this topic is important to you.
Thank you so much, Jean. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here once again. Both you and Philip are so dear to me. I speak about you all the time, the impact that you've made on my life. I'm so grateful and thankful and so honored to share this conversation with you. Self-acceptance is one of my greatest lessons that I've learned, especially after feeling for a very long time that I was not accepted by my family. I was not accepted by others because of the circumstances of my birth. I was what is referred to as a love child. And I felt that non-acceptance from a very early age, and I grew up feeling unaccepted. I grew up desiring acceptance from others in a very intense way, and it manifested itself in mostly my romantic relationships. Until I then realized that the main person who was rejecting me was me. it was it was almost like a light bulb moment. It was like, hold on, hold on. I have been accusing everyone else of not accepting me, but I have been rejecting myself. And then realizing that they were just feeding off of what I was doing.
Right.
And I feel almost as if this self-rejection came as a result of part of my Christian upbringing, where there was this ideal of a self that I had to live up to. And also, my parents, being the beautiful people that they are, had this ideal of who I should be. And I tried to live to that ideal. And when I didn't, then I will beat on myself. When I didn't, I'll feel badly. When I didn't, I'll be like, I didn't make the grade. And I didn't realize that that tape was playing for so long in the background. It was just continuously there until I started going deeper and exploring beyond and seeing that Carissa, I had to accept me. And then, the question was, the question was, what is acceptance? So, there is self-love, which everyone talks about. And then there is what I think is a smaller subsection, which is self-acceptance. So I believe that I really love myself. I love who I am. But there are aspects of myself that I did not accept. And I must admit that there are still aspects that I'm still unearthing to accept. And even to get to the place where I say, I forgive me for rejecting me. And then seeing how that then opens me up to a world of possibilities that I was just closed off to, because it was almost like if I was saying, no, I don't deserve that. I did that. No, I don't deserve that. I don't. So I was closing myself off from receiving the blessings of the divine, receiving the blessings of this amazing life, because I was not accepting what I thought was the ideal me that I should have been. And
Right.
so and so it is still a journey. I am still uncovering parts of it, but now I see it as such an important part. And it is Eckhart Tolle who said, acceptance is freedom. Acceptance, totally. Acceptance of the present moment, acceptance of what comes into your life. And then, the mind then says, accept that horrible situation. But yes, it's an inner acceptance. It is this quietness within you that says, all right, everything is for my highest good. Everything that comes across my path is for my highest good. And therefore, while I may not stay in the situation, while I may not, stay, be here completely, in terms of not while I may not stay in the situation, I can accept that this is for my highest good and it is pointing me in a direction. So whether I go left, right, up, down, or I stand still. And so I then realized that in order for me to accept situations, in order for me to accept others, it has to start with me accepting myself completely.
Right. Right. And it's interesting too that I think for me, I was raised to be a good girl.
Mm,
And part of being a good girl is that you're looking for your sense of self to come from outside of you.
yes.
And I'm not sure exactly what your motivation was or how you looked at it, but I mean, I didn't really know that, except I grew up and I still was trying to be a good girl and I was waiting for people to validate me all the time.
Yes. Yes.
And then I realized, well, this is ridiculous. And it also, if you mentioned soulfulness as part of your life's work, which it is obviously for us too, that when you connect with the truth of who you are
Mm,
from a soul perspective, then you know.
yes.
And it really is, and it is at that point, as you mentioned, there are all these different parts of the self you're bringing back. It's a matter of letting them know too. It's like, hey, you've kind of you didn't get the message yet.
Yes.
But
It
it is
really
so
does.
interesting that the fact is that each of us is a magnificent spiritual
Mhm.
being, a wonderful spiritual being
Yeah.
who's here with something uniquely great to offer.
Yes.
And we miss out on valuing who we are
Yes.
by thinking that we need to match some kind of a society's, or maybe your parents or whatever, that image of who you're supposed to be,
Yes.
when actually what we're supposed to be is ourselves.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
I know you describe your that part of your work as radical self-acceptance. Why do you use that term?
I the reason why I use radical self-acceptance, it's because when I think of acceptance, it's complete. It is complete. So that no matter what you've done, no matter what your past looked like, no matter where you are and how you may look now, it doesn't matter. That acceptance of who you are universally, full stop. So the question of thinking, am I accepted? When you practice radical self acceptance, there is no question because it is who you are. This is who you are, and who you are is always good enough. Yes, who you are is continuously changing. Who you
Mm-hmm.
are will continuously evolve. And there are things that we have done that we probably may not be very proud of. But even that
Right.
helped. And I think that part of it, in terms of the guilt that we sometimes carry and the shame that we carry for things that we have done in our past, it blocks us because we're thinking that I cannot be forgiven for that. How can I forgive myself for doing such a thing? And that rejection of self prevents us from opening up and being free to truly live and to explore life in the magical way that we can. So the
Right.
radical
Right.
self-acceptance is getting to that, and it's a journey. I should rephrase that. It is a
It is.
continuous
Right.
journey.
Yeah. Yeah,
A
and those parts of ourselves that we feel guilty about or whatever, I think we have, in a lot of way I think a lot of ways we have to reframe the way that we perceive things.
Yes,
Like
that's exactly it. Yes,
when you think, well, gee, I did this thing, I really, it was very self-centered of me, or it was just not, it was not considerate of someone, or whatever it is, and I just still feel bad about it, 10 years later or whatever. um, that's part of your learning,
yes,
or our learning. For each of us, that's how we grow, is by doing things sometimes that we realize, well, I wouldn't want to do that again. That's
yes,
how we know we don't want to do it. That's how
exactly.
we actually build that kind of also integrity
Yes,
that we need. I think integrity is a really wonderful word too, because it is about really wanting to be a person who has values.
yeah, hmm definitely a person with the principles and even you coming to that place where you design your own values, you looking within yourself, you searching within yourself and assessing what are my values, what do I want to live by, how do I want to live, and establishing that from your soul, from the uniqueness of your soul, because it was my experience that I had all these values. I had great values, but they weren't necessarily mine.
Right.
They were my grandparents, my
Mm-hmm.
grandmothers,
Right.
they were
Yeah.
my father's values. So then when I took the time to really look at, okay, what do you value, Carissa? Coming from that soulful place, what do you value? And now having that as my guidance, as my foundation, and then I was able to release again, release the expectations and accept myself and accept who I am based on what I value.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I know for myself, one of my primary values is the golden rule.
Yes.
And again, that's one of those areas. the idea of the golden rule being do unto others as you would have others do unto you,
Yeah.
which also is in a variety of related forms. It's present in all of the world's major religions and
Yeah.
philosophies.
It is.
So it is a real foundational principle, I think. And of course, then you think, well, I'm not always able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then that's where we have to realize, well, we're not perfect. We need to forgive ourselves, and if we need to apologize or whatever to someone, we can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
But we do need to realize that our behavior is not our identity too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we talk, you and I are talking a lot about soul, and from from our perspective, and I think it's the same for you, is the soul is present in the heart and the love you hold in your heart.
Yeah.
So it's not, if we're talking about strategies for living, also connecting with the love you hold in your heart and accessing that soulful wisdom, there is a real foundation also.
It
And
definitely.
understanding that love is what it's all about in the end.
Yes. Exactly. And love is unconditional. So there,
Right.
the way
Divine love.
that
I like to call it divine love. It's not
there you
like
go.
the love, like, oh, I love that. you know.
Divine love, yes.
Right.
True
Yeah.
love. It is unconditional, which means that there are no conditions that exist that love cannot exist. There
Right.
are no conditions, and from that space, that then allows for radical self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are really aligned to the love of the divine, which is unconditional, and the divine loves you unconditionally, no matter what, then it allows for radical self acceptance. Because why wouldn't you then accept yourself if you're coming from that divine love and that soulful place?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And essentially, to me too, this is two, we're talking about two different realities.
Mhm.
And we sometimes compare it like wallowing in the mud, like so many people competing and feeling there's not enough, and it's kind of dog eat dog, this,
Yes,
all of that
yes,
kind of mentality. That's one reality. Um, the other one is actually, we compared to wallowing in the mud, we refer to it as rising to a lofty mountaintop,
yes,
with a beautiful panoramic 360-degree view, and just the air so fresh and wonderful. Um, and there, the essence is love.
yes.
That when you go to, and nature itself is such a great lesson for us, because when you go into nature, I think the things
Mm,
that really is awesome to people is the sense of oneness
yes.
and connectedness, which to me is love.
Mm-hmm.
Love is connectedness. It's the
Yes.
absence of separation between oneself and anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Expressed in
I
a variety of
yeah, and
ways.
I and it's kind of like you can choose which reality you want to be in.
Yeah.
If we're talking about strategies for this, you have to decide, well, I'm choosing this one. This is the one, and this is also the one that's going to well, you could say save humanity, or however you want to say it. It's the one that's going to take us to our next step.
The next level of our
Right.
evolution. Definitely. It certainly is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you say to someone who's really struggling with this now?
Self
With
acceptance.
Yeah, with just they might listen to this and say, "Well, you can say that, but I'm suffering, and I don't believe it. I
Yeah.
don't believe it for me."
I would first say the first step is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for rejecting yourself. And I've also learned, and I see this a lot with some of my clients, that it's easy, or it's easier to forgive someone than it is to forgive ourselves for what we think we have done wrong.
Mhm.
And there are these pockets of the unforgiveness, which is muddled with the rejection of self, that it's almost as we go over it. We easily glaze over it. But then when you come back to it, it's like, I should not have done that. And how can I? And we hear these, this is a conversation, but it then points to, oh, there is something there. And I could say that for me as well, when I started doing more, and it started just coming up, areas that I just needed to forgive myself in. And one of the processes that I absolutely love is using the Ho'oponopono prayer and tapping. And it's further embellished when you actually do it in the mirror looking at yourself.
Mhm.
Can I go through
So,
the
if any, just for anyone who might not know what that prayer is, do you want to describe that?
Yes, definitely. So this is an ancient Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian prayer, and it is usually done with two persons who may have had a disagreement and they want to forgive each other. But you can also use it with yourself, and I also use it with tapping. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, the words are, "Please forgive me. Sorry, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you." And so when you're doing it with yourself, and if you feel brave enough, because not many people feel comfortable enough to look themselves in the mirror while but that is fine. You could take it a step by step. So you want to be able to identify, okay, what it is that, just like you would with someone else, what is it that you're forgiving the person for, and you identify that. And then you start tapping on the various points. So you start with saying, similar to the way you would use the affirmation. Instead, you're using the 4-line prayer. So start at the top of the eyebrows. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I
I
am
can feel
sorry.
that.
Yes.
I just feel the energy of it so beautiful. Yeah.
Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you could do it for as many rounds as you feel that you need to do it, similar to when you would do EFT tapping, but instead you're using the Ho'oponopono prayer. It's a mouthful. Um, to really direct the love back to yourself, telling yourself that you forgive you, and re-emphasizing that, you know what, thank you for the lesson that experience would have shown us, and
Mm-hmm.
now I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's
that is
beautiful.
one of the things that I do in terms of whenever issues around self-rejection comes up, to first address, where am I holding on to anything that I haven't forgiven myself for, or I'm rejecting myself with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
That's
is
beautiful.
absolutely beautiful, and you feel it immediately in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could feel it just listening to you. So beautiful. Yeah. Another thing that reminded me too is that for me, I had a huge concern about whatever other people thought about me. And I realized at a certain point, some people are more extroverted. In other words, they kind of like their energy moves out into the world. They're more open to other people. They're very social. And others of us are more introverted, and there are more introverted people than extroverted people in the
Yeah,
world, which actually makes sense because
yeah,
the extroverted people are more the leaders,
yeah,
and you need more followers. But one of the things that can happen if you are a more introverted person is that you can kind of just get overly consumed by yourself.
yeah,
And I realized at a certain point that I needed to focus more on what was happening with other people and to be more extroverted in my approach to people. So I started saying hello to people in public And even then, and something I still do, which I really enjoy, is just complimenting people on something genuine, but it doesn't have to be a big thing like, oh, you have such a beautiful dress on, or you have such a nice smile.
Yes.
Just something, and people light up.
Yes.
And it creates a balance. I think that you could say inner outer balance. We're polarized by nature.
Yeah.
You need to balance the energy that's turned inward with the energy that's going out. And I
Mm-hmm.
found the more I did that, the more I loved myself too.
Wow.
That when you start seeing good things in other people, you start looking. I would think, well, I want to look for something good in everybody I see,
Yes.
no matter who they are,
Yes.
socially, economically, just and when you actually do that and start noticing that everybody has this magnificent beauty in them,
Yes.
then you understand, well, I do too.
Yes.
So it is. I found that to be a really good strategy too.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I do something similar whenever I get up in the morning, I'll say I get to experience the divine in all of its form today.
Right.
And that's, when I interact with people, I look for the essence in them and just,
Mhm.
highlight it. And yes, that's exactly what it does. It reflects back to you. Wow. Yeah. You're
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's the phrase "judge not lest ye be judged"
It
that's
does.
attributed to Jesus.
Yeah.
And um I think that to me also is one of my favorite phrases, because I think it really is true.
Hmm.
We judge things unnecessarily ourselves, the events of our lives, like, oh, this is a horrible thing that's happening to me, or how do you know? It might be the best thing you ever that could ever have happened to you. You just don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And if we can be focused more on being in our bodies in the moment and less on judging everything and everyone as we go through our days, it really simplifies things too.
Does.
And it's more objective.
It truly does. And I've also noticed that when we are highly judgmental or critical of others, it's because we are so judgmental of ourselves. So that
Hmm.
again, it's just reflecting our interactions with the world is just reflecting who we're being, right? So that is also an indicator when constant judgments of other people and situations are popping up for you. It's almost like an indicator, like you're being saying, check within.
Hmm.
Why do you feel the need to judge as much as you do? Are you judging yourself? Most times we are. We are
Right.
judging ourselves to the extent that it then is projected to everyone else.
Hmm.
And
Right.
it doesn't feel good. It doesn't
No,
feel
it
good.
doesn't. And that's the thing. The mountaintop, it's characterized not just by love, but also by joy, by gratitude, by inspiration and creativity. It's really it's a vibrational shift from being down wallowing in the mud, feeling inadequate or
Yeah.
fearful or whatever it is. Um, so another part of it is just focusing on things that allow you to feel better in general.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's funny when you're happy. I notice when I'm happy, I'm not concerned about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can focus on, that's another one of our strategies, I think, just for living, is to
Yeah.
find ways to feel happy, feel good.
Be good about
Have things around you, whatever they are, that make you feel better.
yeah.
Inspirational quotes. I have, where's my favorite? I have things all around my office. Well, you can see all the hearts and things. My favorite stone is selenite heart, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, just actually selenite is a very high vibration stone anyhow, and it just feels wonderful holding it too. But when I look at it, I feel good.
Yes.
It
And it's
just
a
makes me
beautiful
happy.
thing. The heart. You're very beautiful. Yes. And
So
that's definitely some other things that we can also do in terms of, music. Music is another one that I
right,
absolutely
exactly,
love.
yeah.
So just before I came on, I had some of my favorite mantras playing, and it just
Mm-hmm.
and I have my incense burning, and those are those are just things that allow me to feel at peace and feel centered and feel happy, and it moves me out of the judgmental mind. So
Right.
I absolutely love what you just said. Yes, it moves you out of the critical mind and the mind that is always analyzing, because you're able to be here enjoying the present moment and the various stimulations that we use to generate our happiness and contribute to our happiness.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And it is, I think it also something we talk about quite frequently is that the present moment usually is pretty simple.
So
You know, when we feel stressed and anxious and everything, we're everywhere except where we are. And there are times when we need to plan, but most of the time, really the most effective thing to do is just to kind of settle in where you are. And there are just those obvious things like let go of the things you can't change, which is
mhm,
almost everything, you know. Just let go of all of that. Don't sweat the small stuff, all of those phrases that are so powerful.
mhm.
And just allow yourself to enjoy the experience of living.
Yes, 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 definitely, definitely. One
Yeah.
other thing I'd like to also add with regards to things that you can do to start living that radical self-acceptance is one of the affirmations that we use in tapping, which is I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And when I tore that affirmation apart, like I pulled it apart and then I put it back together, because when I look at all the components of it, which is very simple, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. There is nothing that exists that will not allow me to love and accept myself. And there are moments when the critical mind comes up or judgmental mind might come up at times, and that that sentence just brings me right back. I deeply and completely love and accept myself, and that's it. It's almost like, all right, that's it. There's nothing else. That's it. I
Mm-hmm.
deeply and completely love and accept myself, because once we continue feeling into that, and of course we could use the tapping sequence to help to penetrate it in. But once we that statement alone is just so complete, and it usually just quiets the analytical mind. It quiets the judgmental mind, because it's like, all right, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Full stop. It's like when your parents would say something when you're younger. Okay, Carissa, enough. And you are like, okay, mommy, all right, that's it. For me, that works. I deeply and completely love and accept myself, simple, beautifully, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And if there are people who are watching who aren't familiar with EFT, also just as an idea, on our website, which is gettingthrough.org, gettingthru.org, there are different parts to it. So if you go to gettingthrough.org /learn, LEARN dash EFT, you can learn how to do EFT there.
Very powerful.
And it's a tapping process that balances the meridians, and it is really wonderful, and it's a good self-help technique that you can use to a lot of times relieve fears, anxieties, all kinds of different things, phobias.
Very powerful.
And we use it in our healing, both Carissa and Philip and I, uh, because it's very effective. We use it with
Yes,
clients,
yes,
and you can take it just the basics, and then you can go deeper with it too.
yes.
But I think it's one of those things that it's well worth anybody knowing how to do it, because you can shift your state a lot of times in just a matter of moments.
Mhm.
Even I find even just tapping without even thinking about anything, because it's just sending energy, it's sending energy through your meridian system, and it, to me, it it comes out better. So Yeah, I'm very happy. Oh, here's another thing for feeling good. We have two of
Yes,
these.
yes,
He says, I'll cooperate. You can pet me and hug me. It's fine. I'll
yes,
go along
more
with it.
and
In
more
fact,
and
I
more.
insist on it.
Definitely, yes. Dogs are
Yeah.
so having pets. It's so powerful. I have two of my own. There's somewhere around.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I read, Philip and I have been talking about recently, is the idea that the spiritual journey, of course, is very personal and it's about us. But we read in one of the books recently that uh, if you focus too much on yourself and aren't focused outwardly on doing things to help the world or whatever, to focus on other people, that can actually slow your growth, which is it's an interesting idea. And I think it's kind of a reflection of what I was talking about noticing things outside too. um, and Philip and I were talking about, of course, we work with a lot of people. We do, we have a lot of things we're doing, and we do, at least I do volunteer work with an agency for children.
Mhm,
But pets are, and that's another way to find something to care about other than just
mhm,
yourself.
mhm.
And
Interesting.
this little boy, we've had him now just for almost 2 months.
Mhm,
He's new, and he came from, actually, we saw it, we got him from the Humane Society. And when we actually made the purchase of him, then we got a whole folder of things, and one of the things they had is a picture of him where they found him, which was, he
oh,
was in a junkyard.
oh,
And it was a place in California, but a place in California where it gets even below freezing at night. So he was
wow.
out just in this junkyard day and night, and
Such
very,
a
very
joy.
needy. He's
Very, very
getting, you can he just needs a lot of love.
love
So,
it.
and I have it to give. And he has a little companion, another little dog that we have too. So um, I think that that's a good thing to keep in mind,
It
to
really
make sure that you're actually, you have that, especially for introverted people. It's easy to just, and thinking, well, I'm so spiritual, that I'm different from all these other people, and and then you isolate yourself. It really is not, it isn't helpful.
it
And I
isn't.
think even if you feel different, it doesn't mean that other people aren't valuable.
Yeah,
Even the ones who you may think, well, gee, they're not very kind, or they I
yeah.
don't believe the same as them. That's another opportunity to look at them and say, well, gee, there's something I can look at
Yeah.
to appreciate in them.
And on that note, sometimes those of us who recognize that we are on a spiritual journey, sometimes we are so highly critical of ourselves in terms of we have the teachers and we have the gurus that we look up to and we learn from, and we believe that this is the model of spirituality. Or, we might have some teachers that we follow on Instagram or social media, and we look at them and we see them as the epiphany of this is what spirituality looks like. And then we look at ourselves and we're like, we're nowhere there. And again, we start to direct rejection towards ourselves, thinking that we're not there, we're not good enough, that's the aspiration. But once again, our unique expression, our soul's unique expression is it's purposefully different to each and every person, including the gurus and the teachers and all of these people that we follow. We have our own unique imprint, and welcoming that and embracing that and how that looks in its very unique expression is very important to help us to continue to journey. Very, very
Right.
important.
Yeah. 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 And I think the more, to me, the further you go, the more interesting it gets. it just becomes deeper and I think more enriching
Yeah.
and simpler. I think my life, I feel, although there's a lot going on
Mhm.
with Awakenings Institute and all the things that we're doing here, I feel my life is much simpler now than it
Mm.
has been in the past,
Yeah.
just because I don't feel like I need to take on everything. I can
Right.
just I can focus on what I'm here for, and
It's more
so
targeted.
it's a relief.
Mm, I get that. I
Yeah.
think I'm moving in that direction now. Stripping away everything else and just moving in the direction. This is my soul's calling, and this is all I want to do.
Right. Yeah. But he's back. He said, I like that. Being on your lap. Yes, you do. So any other strategies or suggestions before we come to the end here?
Just really and truly recognizing that you are, each and every one of us, we are divine beings, and we are
Right.
all on a journey. And it's a journey of experience, so that the things that we often deem as um, unworthy, the things that we often deem as bad, the things that we often deem as not good enough, it's all a part of our experience that we signed up for when we came here. We signed up for all of it because all of it is like a piece of the puzzle. It's like a piece of this beautiful puzzle that we get to be a part of, we get to contribute to, we get to experience, we get to have, we get to share. So that reminding yourself of that, reminding yourself that you are absolutely beautiful. You are absolutely just who you are and who you are meant to be. And directing that acceptance, directing that love to yourself, it then gives you permission. It liberates you to accept others, and it liberates you to accept life, to welcome the beauty of others and welcome the beauty of life. And that's the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the path to freedom. When you
Right.
accept yourself, then it gives you permission to accept others, and it gives you permission to accept life. And life then unfolds in its magical way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Okay.
And with that too, remember that when you find yourself not accepting yourself, not to beat yourself up about that either.
Yeah,
So,
that's
oh,
just
I
doing it.
can't do that. That means I'm not I'm not good enough.
That's just doing it in on, it's like you come back on this side, it's like, oh no, I'm not accepting myself, so I need to, no, 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 accept them completely.
Right, this guy won't leave me alone. He says, I love all this love. I want to
Yes,
be part of this. They do. They
buddy.
really rate, they gravitate to it. Don't you? You love love. That's good. Well, thank you so much, Carissa.
Oh, thank
And before we end though, can you share how people could learn more about you?
definitely. So I am on Instagram, and my handle is Carissa, Carissa Daniel. So there's an extra A. So I am very active on Instagram. I'm also active on Facebook by the same handle. And then my website is carissadaniel.com, www.carissadaniel.com. And I actually have an upcoming masterclass on radical self-acceptance.
Oh, wonderful. Can they find
So
out about that on your website?
the information is not up just yet, but it will be soon. So anyone interested, they can reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms, and I will be sure to share the information.
Wonderful. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And as you might imagine, I would highly recommend learning from Carissa. You can tell she's just a beautiful being
Thank
with so much
you.
wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
So as we close, I want to suggest to remember the keys and strategies we share on the show. The ultimate goal, of course, is to put them to use to create a more joyful, soulful, and fulfilling life. And I think with the things that we've discussed today, it is really I think it's almost a shortcut, because the bottom line really is your perspective on who you are. So if you learn to accept yourself, you're well well on the way to enjoying life and realizing your purpose and all of that. So if you enjoyed this show as much as we did, we hope you'll join us next week and invite some of your friends. It's more fun to make soulful changes like these together. And I think all of us, there's more power when we're together, with the power of two or more people who come together. And as you add more of these soulful strategies to your daily routine, your life can change in miraculous ways. So remember, this week the focus is, and it also can be an affirmation. That's part of the purpose. It is accept yourself as the path to freedom. So you can remind yourself, I want to accept myself as my path to freedom. Yeah. And if you want to know more, you can find out about our courses, books, and other offerings on our extensive website at gettingthrough.org, gettingthru.org/holistic. We also want you to know that we and our guests value your support. You know how to reach Carissa. And for Awakenings Institute, we want you to know that tuition for courses and other purchases support our mission of helping to create a more loving world. And if you can share the message of love with those around you, together we can change the world. So thanks again, Carissa. And for everyone out there, have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Have a great week, everyone.